Welcome back for another conversation. This is going to be one of those thought-provoking, one of those provocative, if you will, subject matters. But the content is going to be, so relatable. Have you ever got your tail kicked before? I warned you. Let me put it this way. Have you ever had your butt handed to you? You know, somebody make the statement, you keep messing with me. You just keep on. I'm going to hand you your butt on a silver platter. Let me flow just for a moment. You probably like it better this way. Have you ever been served? Or have somebody ever checked you? Have somebody ever put you in your place before? Yeah, I think that might be better for you. I know a little something about getting my tail kicked. Since I didn't have a big brother growing up, my older cousins would take me to the side, take me under the wing, they call it. And they'd always put me in these little fights with my neighbors, you know, people the same age as me, but they'd always put me in little fights to try to, perfect my fighting skills. I'm assuming. These little guys would always get the best of me, seemed like, because they had big brothers and they were well trained. But I realized years later that my cousins were really bullies, and they were trying to make me a little bully just like them. That's what they were trying to do. Saul in the New Testament, not King Saul, but Saul in the New Testament was a bully. He was a bully. He was a stone cold assassin is what he really was. Saul was a bounty hunter when you think about it. And he loved his job. I mean, that's the worst kind. You don't want someone who loved their job being an assassin, a bounty hunter, a bully. But Saul loved his job so much, he asked the high priest for another mission, if you will, to go to Damascus to continue performing what I call human trafficking of the disciples and of the believers. Saul, who was converted to Paul, had his butt handed to him on the road to Damascus by God, for God. Come with me to the book of Acts, chapter 9, verses 4 and 5. We're told that Saul fell to the earth as he heard the voice of Jesus saying unto him, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? Some of you are just like Saul. You're persecuting the saints of God. You're persecuting the church of God. You're persecuting Jesus. I mean, some of you are teaming up with the devil. And so the devil don't have to use his hand because you're giving him both of your hands to use. That's what some of you are. At verse 5, Saul said, who art thou, Lord? And the Lord said, I am Jesus, whom thou persecuted. It is hard to kick against the prick. Paul, it's hard to rebel against the truth. It's hard to rebel against your purpose. Keep in mind, we were created in the image of God so that we could follow God, so God could find pleasure in us. And everything that we're doing that's not fitting that mold, that image, we're persecuting God. We're kicking up against the prick. We're kicking up against what we were made from and made for. Wow. That's what we're doing. Are you the bully? Are you trying to bully your Lord and Savior? Is that you? Or are you a victim? And if you're not careful, you can be both. It just depends on the season that you're living within. You can be the bully for a moment, and you can be a victim for a moment. But where are you right now? I mean, where do you see yourself? Do you see yourself being a bully? Or do you see yourself being a victim? I mean, where do you see yourself? Or do you see yourself being victorious? I pray that's where you are, victorious. When I was young, I used to watch, I used to love watching wrestling. I used to go to the events. And my wife seen me watching wrestling one day, and she just shook her head and said, you know that's all scripted. I mean, she's going to blow it for me. She said, you know that's all fake. And I said, yeah, I know it, but I like the theatrics, you know. I like all of the moves they get themselves into. I mean, I just like all that stuff. But she thinks it's just so funny that I would watch something that's already fixed. We have now what they call MMA. It's called mixed martial arts. And it's where the contestants can use any technique, any fighting technique that they have. They can wrestle, they can box, they can kickbox, they can do judo, they can do karate in competition, whatever it takes to win. It's the only time, though, it's the only time that it's acceptable to put your feet on someone. Let me say it again. It's the only time that it's acceptable to put your feet on someone. You see, your feet are nasty. As a matter of fact, there's several times in the Bible where God said, take off your shoes. This is holy ground. But we have a tendency of trying to kick one another. Yes, that's man for you. But no one wants to be kicked. Have you ever played sports before and you lost the game by a few points? You know, you just barely lost the game, and that's debilitating enough. I mean, that's pretty sad enough. But have you ever played in a game where you lost the game by 20, 30 points? See, that's where that statement comes in. Boy, they handed you your butt. I mean, they kicked your butt tonight. I mean, you just have to admit it. They kicked our tails. When someone kicks you, there's two ways they can kick you. One is by kicking you with abusive language. I mean, they're using crazy words, nasty words, filthy words. Or they can kick you physically by putting their foot on you. And let me tell you what that feels like. When someone kicks you with their foot, it feels like somebody spit on you. And you know how bad that is. It catches you off guard first. I mean, that's what it does. And then it's shocking that it happened to you. And it's mentally disturbing that someone would think so less of you. What it is, it's a profound statement that they disrespect you. They don't like you. I mean, immediately your mind goes into payback mode because nobody likes being kicked. You know how you feel when you're working on a presentation, you're working on a spreadsheet, and it's a very lengthy presentation or spreadsheet, and you're on your computer and you're putting all this information in, and you're almost finished. And all of a sudden, guess what? You get kicked out of your computer. I mean, come on. I mean, your mind is blown. I mean, you're talking about tick, you lost all your data. See, that's what it feels like. It feels like somebody punched you right in the middle of your gut. And that stings for a while. Remember this. Remember, God can when you can't. Let me say it again. God can when you can't. A man brought his son to Jesus, and he told Jesus, I need you to heal him because he has seizures. And now and then he will toss himself into the fire, and sometimes he'll toss himself into the water. And so Jesus prayed for the young boy, and Jesus kicked the demons, out of him, and he healed him. The disciples pulled Jesus to the side and asked him, why couldn't we kick the demons out? And Jesus told them that their faith was too small. Now, he didn't tell them that their legs was too small for kicking. No, he didn't tell them your legs are too short. He didn't tell them that. He told them that it takes faith the size of a mustard seed, and that they had that faith. If they could get that faith, if they could receive that faith, they could speak to mountains, and they could kick mountains from here to there. What he was telling them was that all the issues in your life, all the circumstances, all the situations, that you can move them, that they have to obey you, yes, if you have this type of faith, because nothing's impossible for God. Nothing's impossible for you. You see, I need some of that. I want some of that kicking kind of faith. I think we all need some of that. Have you ever kicked yourself out? We like to complain so much. We like to feel that someone's wronged us. But truth be told, first of all, the devil didn't make anybody do it. No, 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 no. You did it to yourself. You're doing it to yourself. Let me give you an example. You're out drinking one night at a bar, and you drink too much. I mean, you drink way too much, and you're being disrespectful. And other customers are complaining about you. So the management have you kicked out. Now you felt like somebody wronged you, but nobody did. That's you. You got yourself kicked out because you couldn't handle your liquor. You cheat on your spouse, and it leads to a nasty divorce. That's on you. You got yourself kicked out of your marriage. Your parents have rules, and you refuse to obey their rules. And so they come up with a plan to kick you out of the house because you're kicking up against the prick. You're kicking up against their rules. You're kicking up against their teaching. And so they give you a deadline to move out. And you're so crazy. I mean, you turn a blessing into a hardship. And believe me, that ship that you're going to be living in, that's going to be hard. You kicked yourself out. Have you ever been fired before? I hear it's one of the most debilitating events that you'd ever have to go through. It's where someone will sit across the table from you and they will start telling you all your faults, all your failures, all your shortcomings. And you got to listen to it for a moment. But what they're telling you is that this is the end of the road. Yeah, your employment is no longer needed for this company. But before you can turn your head, before you can get up out of that seat, guess what? They've already disabled your password, your username. And they've got a security guard or a police officer standing there, going to walk you back to your desk to pick up all your personal belongings, and they're going to walk you out like you're a criminal. You got yourself kicked out. Have you ever been evicted from your apartment because you didn't pay the lease or because you violated the lease? Those people will throw your stuff out on the street, your furniture, your personal belongings, all your items. They will kick you and your stuff out. That's what they do. Have you ever been kicked to the curb by an ex-girlfriend or an ex-boyfriend? That don't feel good. I told you, no one likes to be kicked. I worked in a leadership position for over 30 plus years, and not once did I ever fire someone. No. They terminate themselves. They fired themselves by violating some type of rule, procedure, or policy. I simply accommodated them legally with their separation from the company. I just had them escorted out the building. Have you ever been kicked off a team before because of your actions that they deemed unprofessional or detrimental to the team and to the organization? You see, you kick yourself off. See, we do a lot of kicking ourselves out of things more than someone else is doing the kicking on our behalf. As a freshman in college, and I think all you can relate to this, as a freshman in college, I was living my best life, free from my parents' rules and all their speeches and lectures. I mean, I was partying way more than I was studying. And guess what? They put me on probation. Yeah, I almost got myself kicked out of school. I got my tail kicked that first semester of college. Lucifer was disobedient, and so God kicked him out of heaven. A third of the angels committed treason, and so God kicked them out of heaven. Adam and Eve were disobedient in the garden, and so God kicked them out of the garden. Cain killed his brother Abel, so God kicked him out of the family. Pharaoh had a hard heart, and he got his tail kicked by 10 plagues, and then, of course, the Red Sea. Now, Lot refused to leave Sodom, so the angels kicked his tail out of Sodom and Gomorrah. But his wife, who had an affinity for Sodom and Gomorrah, so she looked back, and so her tail was left on the trail as a pillar of salt. The elders of Israel complained and doubted God so much that their unbelief got them kicked out of their promise. And let's not talk about COVID, the pandemic. COVID kicked a whole lot of butt. I mean, and it's still continuing to kick butt right now. COVID separated friends. It separated families. I mean, politics got in the midst of this whole thing. And we won't know the real, if you will, the damage COVID did to maybe 10 or 15 years down the road. Because it's continuing. It's no end in sight. We know about King David's victories, and we shout about him, we praise him about him. But do you realize that God had to kick his butt on several occasions? We know about King Solomon, one of the wisest men that's ever lived. Had 900 wives and concubines, and they were for political reasons. But he couldn't kick out their gods and their idols. See, once they get in, it's hard to get them out. Be careful who you let into your circle, into your life. Let me ask you this question. Are you responsible with your decision making? Are you responsible with who you kick and who you don't kick? See, stop kicking your responsibilities up to your supervisor, to your manager, to your executives, to your parents. No. Deal with that stuff yourself. And don't be kicking it down to those individuals who are your insubordinates, those individuals you can delegate stuff to. No. Stop kicking it down to your staff, to your siblings. Deal with it yourself. And please don't kick it sideways. Your peers don't want it. No, your associates don't want it. Your friends don't want it. Deal with it yourself. What boundaries do you have in place for no kicking allowed on your watch? That's the real question. What boundaries do you have in place that tells people no kicking allowed on your watch? Have you ever ejected yourself out of a situation that was harmful to you and for you in order to protect yourself from physical or emotional abuse? See, sometimes you have to let some things go, let some people go. When was the last time you kicked the devil out of your thoughts? That's a big one. When was the last time you told him, time out? When was the last time you told him, I don't think so, not today? When was the last time you kicked the devil out of your heart? When was the last time you prayed the devil out of your children? When's the last time you prayed the devil out of you? Out of your spouse? When was the last time you kicked the devil out of your house? When was the last time you kicked the devil out of your marriage? You see, we don't kick things out. We don't. We're like hoarders. we kick things around. You know, it's still there, but we just move it around. We put it somewhere else, in the garage, in the attic, because we don't have boundaries. That's our problem. Yeah, we kick things around so that we can keep them close to us. Because most of you have what I call attachment issues. You like to push things and pull things versus kicking things. Some things need to go. Stop becoming comfortable with people and stuff you should be distancing yourself from. You see, it's hard to kick out someone or something that you have become dependent upon. It's hard. It's very hard. So let me tell you this. Stop persecuting yourself. Stop persecuting your children. Stop persecuting your sisters and your brothers. Stop persecuting your parents. Stop being the conscience for everybody. Let them go so that they can grow as well. Don't be like Saul, a bully. Instead, be like Apostle Paul, a follower. Stop kicking against the prick. Stop fighting the hand that's feeding you. Yeah. Stop fighting the hand that died upon the cross for you. Start accepting the hand of fellowship by first repenting of your sin and confessing that Jesus Christ is Lord and believing in your heart that God has raised him from the dead. You see, that's how you kick the devil out. That's how you can speak to your mountains, to your issues, to your circumstances, to your situations, and they have to obey you. You be blessed and not stressed. And remember, kick it. Don't let it kick you.